Hey everybody, so we're going to look at the review for today, and on the review I'm just going to run through these questions with you and help you do the work, and hopefully you will do very well on your test on Wednesday. So, what does not exist in non-Euclidean geometry but does exist in Euclidean? Euclidean is what we study, and in Euclidean what exists that does not exist in um, non-Euclidean is straight lines, straight rays, and straight line segments. Also, flat planes. Nothing is straight and nothing is flat in a non-Euclidean world. It's not a fun place. Okay, you want straight lines and flat planes make life easier. You start putting a curve on everything and things get tough. All right, so when we're writing the converse, inverse, and contrapositive, if you're writing the converse is where you take the statement and then you switch the hypothesis and the conclusion. The conclusion is we have a test in geometry class. I'm going to cut that out and move it over here. And the hypothesis is today is Wednesday. So I'm going to highlight this part and cut it out and move it to the end. And so now my statement reads, if we have a test in geometry class, then today is Wednesday. That's the converse. The inverse is even easier because the inverse is where you take the original statement and you just put the word not in. If today is not Wednesday, then we do not have a test in geometry class. And then finally, the converse is when you do both. You flip and make them the opposite. You know, we've already flipped it here. All right, so if I just make this statement the opposite, then I'll have my contrapositive. So if we do not have a test in geometry class, then today is not Wednesday. There it is. All right, so now our converse, inverse, and contrapositive. The converse, let's see, first again, I'm going to copy this and paste it down here. And then remember we flip these. You will pass if is your conclusion. So I'm going to cut that out and move it up here. My hypothesis is you study for the test. All right, Control X and Control V. Now, read the sentence. It doesn't make sense. Okay, so you need to clean it up if you can. Now, I'll give you credit, but you need to clean it up. So if you will pass, that doesn't make sense. If you pass, then you must have studied for the test. There we go. If you pass, then you must have studied for the test. There it is, all cleaned up. Now here is the inverse. The inverse again is when you take this and you put the word not in there. If you do not study for the test, then you will not pass. And then finally, the contrapositive is where you take those two things and you flip them. And so you flip them and make them the opposite. So I've already got the flipped right here. That's the converse. If I bring it down here and I just make them the opposite, if I just put the nots in, then that's it. I'm done. If you do not pass, then you must not have studied for the test. All right. If you are in a math class, then you are in geometry. That's not true for a lot of y'all already. Some of y'all are taking algebra again. Some of you are taking algebra 2 already. If you're in a math class, then you are in geometry. If I swap my hypothesis and my conclusion, that's the converse. So I'm going to cut that out, put that there. And I'm going to move this to here. Okay. If you are in geometry, then you are in a math class. All right. Next, I've got my inverse. That's where I take my original statement and I just make them the nots. And so it would be, if you are not in a math class, then you are not in geometry. And then the contrapositive is when you flip them and make them the opposite. So I'm going to take the flip part, the converse, and paste it down here. And then I'm going to put the knots in. If you are not in geometry, then you are not in a math class. Oh my goodness, another one. All right. So if we do this one, if you like fruit, then you like strawberries. All right, so we're going to take this. We're going to put that down as the converse. We're going to have to flip them. So you like strawberries is our conclusion. It's going to come to the first. And oops, what did I do there? I don't know. Here's a great tool if you don't know this. Control Z. I don't know what I did, but I screwed it up pretty good. Hold on. Let me do that again. Control Z. There we go. All right, so that's here. We're back to where we started. I need to highlight what my conclusion, which is that. I'm going to move it to the beginning right here, and then you like fruit is my hypothesis. It gets moved to the end. Oops. If you like strawberries, then you like fruit. Okay, and then the inverse would be the original statement. If you ever do that, if you ever make a mistake and you're like, oh my God, what did I do? Hit Control Z. And if the Microsoft gods are with you, then it will fix your problem. All right, so now all I have to do is put the knots in here. If you do not like fruit, then you do not like strawberries. And remember, contrapositive is when you take both of these things, you flip them and you make them the opposite. You do both of those things. So I'm going to go ahead and take the flip, because that's the tougher one to do, to retype. So there's the flip. And then I'm going to put the knots in there. If you do not like strawberries, then you do not like fruit. And then we have this. Give a counter example. If you are in math class at Spring High School, then your teacher is Miss McLean. Nope. Your teacher is Mr. Forshey. See? There's a counter example. You are a math student at Spring High School, but your teacher is Mr. Forshey. You're lucky if you got Miss McLean next year. She's amazing. All pets have fur. What if I have a fish? If I have a fish, he doesn't have fur. So real quick, remember that when you're doing this, the first part has to be true. You have to be in a math class, but your teacher can't be Miss McLean. So in a math class, your teacher is Mr. Forshey. That is a counterexample. The first part has to be true. The second part has to be false. I need a pet that does not have fur. I need a bird that cannot fly on this one. A bird that cannot fly is an emu. He doesn't need everything capitalized. All right, if it has 4 legs, then it is a dog. Well, what about my chair? My chair has 4 legs. I don't call it Sparky. All right, so if it has 4 legs, then it is a dog. Well, no, it has 4 legs, but it's a chair. If you live in Texas, then you live in Houston. And I could say, no, I live in Spring. Okay, I live in Texas, but not in Houston. I have something with 4 legs, but it's not a dog. There's a bird, but it cannot fly. I have a pet, but it doesn't have fur. I'm in a math class, but it's not Miss McLean's. You tell me what is the exception then? All right, so that is it for the review. I hope that helps. Good luck to you on your test Wednesday.